Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I am your host, Ricky Kemmler. This Friday, audiences will be blown away. Believe me when I say blown away. I have seen it. They will be blown away by Bradley Cooper's first film as a director, A Star is Born. The film stars him and Lady Gaga as a couple of songwriters who fall in love and fame and swim out past the shallow. Let's take a look at the trailer. Everybody, please welcome Anthony Ramos and the great Sam Elliott. Congratulations, guys. Unbelievable. I saw this movie yesterday. I'm not gonna lie, I watch a lot of movies. I'm a bit of a cynic, and it's hard for a sort of big, rousing Hollywood movie to grab me, because I feel like I've seen them so often, and you so often see them fail by trying too hard, and they never really find the kernels of truth correctly. Star is Born, 15 minutes in, you know. They got it. This is a great movie. Everything lands as it should. It's beautiful. It's incredibly well shot by Matthew Libatique. The cinematography is stunning all the way through. From minor moments to big moments, it's always something to look at. And damn, does it bring a tear to your eye. Congratulations on being a part of this film, guys. It's something else. That said, let's talk about it together. Sam, you play Bradley Cooper's older brother in this film, and it's a reference throughout the film that, and Cooper has said this in interviews, that he got the voice from you. He stole it from you. So when he approached you to be a part of the movie, did he tell you that that was going to be in it? Was that already in the script?
Yeah, I never had crossed paths with Bradley, although we're, been around for a long time at the same time. And I went to his home and spent a couple of hours with him on our first encounter. And during that time, he played a tape of he and a voice coach in which he was getting my voice down. And I didn't know anything about it until that moment. He said, "This is going to sound a little weird." And I said, "Yeah, you're right. It was a little weird, but it was interesting how close he was." And that was early on. And I just think the more and more time he spent there, I think the more time we spent together, that he got really close. There's a couple of moments, I don't even remember where they are in the film, but when I saw it up in Toronto, I wondered if I'd gone in the post-production and looped a particular line, I think it was when he says, "Are you okay?" And I would have sworn it was me saying it. It was quite a trip. So he made a commitment, of sorts long before I was set to it, that he was going to sound like me. So I thought the odds were in my favor. I might get hired to do the job.
Well, I was wondering, because it becomes a thing in the movie. You're his older brother, and you have this voice as well, and he says that, he stole this voice from you, or you say that to him, vice versa. And I was wondering, what if you weren't able to do the movie? What if you hadn't been able to do that? Would he have had to change the voice
I
and
know
do
he
something
talks
else,
about that. I've heard him talk about that. He said he was stuck with me, so right off the top. I don't know what he would have done.
Thank God for you. You didn't have to audition.
After working with this guy, it wouldn't have been surprising to me at all that if I hadn't worked out, he would have figured out somebody else's voice and come up with that.
What do you mean by after working with this guy?
I just think Bradley's a brilliant filmmaker. I don't think there's anything he can't do. I've never worked with anybody in the 49 years I've been doing this that has more going for him than this guy in terms of making movies. It's astounding. It's astounding.
Anthony, you play Lady Gaga's character, Allie's best friend, sort of along for the ride a little bit with her and watching this complete insanity unfold. Had you known Lady Gaga before doing the movie at all?
No. It was kind of like come to set and boom, go.
Really?
She's your best friend. Yeah, we were supposed to hang out. Just crazy. A short version of a long story was Bradley had me do 3 tapes for this role over the course of 4 months. And then finally he said, "Okay, I need you to fly to LA to do this reading with the cast." Everyone had been cast already but me. And I think maybe one other role. And then, after we do the reading, folks are like, "Oh man, can't wait for us to start filming. I'm so excited." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think the movie's going to be good." I don't know if people...
You've done 3 tapes and you just did the reading and you still weren't sure if you had the part.
Yeah, but they called me on the way to the airport. I was doing a show in Arizona that night, and they called me on the way to the airport back to Arizona, like, okay, you got the part. And, and then it was kind of fast and furious from there. But Stephanie was so warm, man. Like, the first day I got there, she was just like, I get the set, she hugs me, she's like, man, I'm so happy you're here. We knew it was going to be you. And I didn't have to hang out with her a million times before the movie to have that chemistry and to create that vibe, because she kind of did it for me.
You're also both very good actors.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Shout out to my college for the training. All right.
So what was it like, working with Bradley as a director? Because one of the things that I like about this film, that it reminds me of movies from the 70s, which, one of the past Star is Borns was made, is that it feels like there are lots of different journeys people could have gone on, and there's maybe lots of scenes that were left on the cutting room floor because it feels like there was a journey in making this movie rather than just sort of doing something very cut and dry like most filmmakers would do. Did it feel like that while you were working with him?
It still feels like that. I keep saying the same thing over and over again, and Bradley had this. There was a sequence in the footage that you just showed, where he walks out on stage and he's trying to drag Stephanie out on stage with him, and he says, "Trust me, just trust me. That's all you got to do." And he turns his back and walks away, and she comes out. He told me that the first night that I met him, the same night he played that tape for me, and he said, "Just trust me, man." He said, "You won't be sorry. You won't be sorry. Just trust me." I would bet anything that he said the same thing to Anthony, and he said the same thing to everybody else. I know for a fact that he said it a number of times to Stephanie through the course of it. Odds are, if you can have that kind of relationship where you trust not only your fellow actors, but your director implicitly, and odds are you're going to get at the truth. And that's what we're all in search of in order to convince the audience that there's any reality to what it is we're up to. It's all about being real.
It's one of those feelings that while watching the movie, it feels like the actors had a say in their characters as well. And I wonder if that had something to do with the trust me element, that you could also probably go to him as a director and say, well, this is me, and I think my character would be a little bit like this, and that would be kind of worked in, or at least it would feel like it was worked in for you as the actor. Because everybody that's on screen has a moment. They have moments, and they have something that feels, Lady Gaga, it's a very somewhat meta role for her, but everybody, it feels like, has something that it feels like is attributable maybe to their personality in some ways. Did it feel like that for you?
Yeah, there's a scene where we're on this private jet on our way to meet Jackson on tour, and Stephanie and I are in there, and we're like, we're throwing ourselves on the sofa, and we're playing with like the tables in the jet, and we popped this bottle of champagne. We were not supposed to pop that bottle. The pilot specifically said to us, "Please, whatever you do, if you can do whatever else, do not pop this bottle of champagne." Sure enough, boom, champagne bottle pops. I see him just like, he's like going through it, and we're all cracking up because we're like nervous, / oh my gosh, can't believe we did that, but this was such a good moment. And then he kept it in the movie, and Bradley did a lot of that over the course of of filming. He just kind of was just like, the lines on the paper are finished, but this moment isn't finished. So I'm going to allow this moment to go wherever it needs to go and be what it wants to be, And he's like amazing like that.
Is that Sam, is that something that you found as well?
I just think, much to Bradley's credit, again, that he's just an incredible collaborator. The door's open. That doesn't mean, I don't think I ever went and said, we talked script before we started shooting, but I don't think I ever said to Bradley, "Nah, I don't want to do that, man. Jackson wouldn't do that, or Bobby wouldn't do that." I think when you're making a movie, there's one guy that we all look to. That's the director. He's the captain of the ship. The rest of us are on the crew. And hopefully that director has a vision in mind as to where he's set sail to and knows how to go about getting there. But I just hire on to work for the director, and hopefully he knows. I mean, I've worked on films or television shows where the director didn't have a clue. That's always a little disconcerting.
I can't imagine what that's like.
It's not much fun.
No, I mean
for anyone.
The idea of acting for someone, for a director, for a project that you can't wrap your head around and your director can't help you. I can't imagine something more that would freak somebody out more, because you're putting yourself out there, you're putting your face out there, and you're like, it's that feeling of like, I have no control over what I'm being asked to do right now. And when I say, I don't imagine that you ever had to say, I don't want to do that, or I don't think my character would do that. I meant more that, like, he seemed to have found the essence of each of the actors that he put on
I think he
camera.
cast it right.
Yeah, exactly.
He cast it
That's all
right.
is.
And I think 99% of making a movie is casting it right. Maybe not 99. That's a bit of an overstatement, but it's certainly a huge, huge part of it. I mean, if you miscast somebody, good luck. I mean, if somebody's not right for a part or not up to a part, then you got a hole to fill somewhere.
Part of this movie, to me, felt like if you forgot somehow that Lady Gaga didn't have an amazing voice, this movie does everything it can to remind you. Like, by the time the movie's over, you're like, yes, she's a god. That's incredible. What was it like being on set and watching her get to sing all the time?
It was surreal. We had a moment at the Greek Theater. It had to be. It was so late. It had to be 1 or 2 a.m. or something. I can't remember how late it was, but there was still a bunch of people who were at the theater, and just like who were in the audience, and they had been there all day long, and all night, working as extras and just being in the film and helping to make that scene what you guys saw, or what you will see, and she took 20 minutes. This was in between takes or between setups, and she did a set for everybody. Like, she just did a set. She got on that piano, and it was just her, the piano, and her voice. I mean, she sang at 1:30 in the morning or whatever it was, from the depths of her feet, from the soles of her feet. I mean, it was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever seen, ever.
And were you there for that?
I was there, and it killed me, and just like, it's what Anthony says. I mean, that kind of power out of that kind of talent and that woman, it stopped everybody. It stopped the crew, everybody. Everybody just basically stopped working. We just sat there and watched Lady Gaga in concert, only she didn't look like Lady Gaga. That's the amazing thing. I mean, I knew her going in there as Lady Gaga. I've got a daughter that's a couple of years older, and I've been listening to her for the last 10 years sing. And I've seen visions of her in these different outfits that she's worn over the years. And I told her it was going to take a while for me to get over at the table read, just the fact that I was working with her. And this guy, by the way, stole that table read. Between him and Gaga. I can't even, it amazes me that you were put on tape 3 times and then had to go to do a table read.
Can I just say, I love the idea of a table read happening and you're turning to the people next to you going, that's Lady Gaga. Yeah. Like, just your voice
crazy.
turning to people and be like, that's Lady Gaga.
It was wild.
She would break out in song. I mean, there were moments where there were these music interludes during this table read. And the head of the studio was at this table read. I mean, there was like 30 people around the table. It was a long table. It was like the Last Supper.
It really was the longest table you've ever seen.
It was unbelievable.
Honestly, yeah.
But, I was there, yeah, and it was pretty impressive. She's just an amazing character. And the thing is she's a real woman. She's just a real girl.
Well, that's what this whole movie is about, right?
It's about that. Yeah. But in reality, that's what it is. She's a special girl, but at the heart of it, she's just this really wonderful, loving woman that takes, great pride in being a nice woman and being nice to people,
So much of this movie is about how the pressures of business and business itself can kind of crush art, and also the stories that we tell about our artists kind of do no justice to the actual real lives that are being lived behind them. So that's interesting that you would say that this is a real woman behind Lady Gaga, because as I said, a sort of meta performance, or the character is kind of meta. That's sort of what I took away from the film, is that there is real tragedy and heartbreak behind the people who are getting crushed by certain elements of fame while they're trying to present their fragile art to the world at times.
That's one of the realities of the game, I mean, it's this guy right here is about to experience that stuff. It's all coming his way, and it's going to, at a young age. It came late for me. Not that it's all coming, but the fact that I'm still at it after the long haul. In the last couple of years have been, I think, the richest that I've had because of whatever's come my way. But, Anthony's about to experience all that stuff.
Do you think that
he's well prepared, but it's going to be a heady ride for a while.
Do you think they're the richest you've had because you've been prepared and you've seen it for so long that you know how to handle anything that kind of comes your way in the industry?
I just think at this point all I am is just thankful to be in the game still. And, I got no illusions as to what I'm going to do at 74 years old, So I just want to keep working.
74 years young.
I was going to say that, yeah.
That man is timeless out here.
Anthony, does it feel like something's coming your way right now that you have to kind of be prepared for?
Well, look, Sam, it's awfully dope of you to say that, bro, and I'm honored to just sit next to you. And like I said, I said to Sam in the green room, I'm grateful to be at the table. A lot of other people could have been here, and I'm just grateful to be. I'm grateful that Bradley gave me the tap, man, and my life has definitely changed in some ways, but I think the best part, is that my core hasn't. My family, my mom, my brother's here. You know what I'm saying? So I just do my best to keep my tribe with me. It takes a village, man. So and again, man, I'm just grateful to be at the table, and I just hope that I can continue to do pieces of art that make people feel, and whether the movie is whether we made it for $50,000 or 50 million, I just hope that I can continue to be a part of pieces of art that people connect to in a real way, and that's really all you want as an artist, and everything else, everything else just comes with it. But but again, man, I'm grateful to be here with you, man. Honestly.
The first few pieces of art that you've gotten to really be involved with are Hamilton by Lin-Manuel Miranda, She's Gotta Have It by Spike Lee, and now A Star Is Born by Bradley Cooper. I'm sure there were a few things in between that I forgot. But those are three, now incredible filmmakers since I've seen Star Is Born, but then, an incredible playwright, Lin-Manuel, and, Spike as a director. Do you worry about the next projects that come your way? Do you get worried about choosing the wrong thing and not having the experiences that you've had with this? As we said sort of at the top of the interview, sometimes there are directors or there are projects that don't really know how to fit you in after they've cast you.
Nah, I don't worry.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think it's if something connects and something hits, whatever else happens after that is out of my control, right? If I feel like I'm not vibing with a director, I think it's up to me to find common ground and to bridge that gap. I think we don't know it all, So it's like, if I just approach everything with the mindset that I don't have all the answers, and this director is directing this movie, whether I agree with them, whether I agree with their style of work or not, they're the leader, they're the head. Let me do what I have to do to be the collaborator, the best collaborator I can be, to make this movie the best we can make it. It takes a village. It's a cast and a crew. So many unsung heroes that, a DP. I'm glad you gave Matthew the shout out because he's a beast. That camera's a character in the movie.
I mean, he's always been one of my favorite directors of photography, but what he does in this film is so, it's almost deceptive. because oftentimes it's close-ups or it's medium shots, and so you're kind of like, someone could walk away and be like, most of the times people praise cinematography that's like a period piece or very obvious, and with this, it's like every scene, the color tone is intensely perfect and smart and honed in, and then the grain is right. Everything is a professional DP working at the top of his game, but not showing you that he's working at the top of his game. It's so impressive what he does with this movie. Sorry.
You had to. I used to stay on set and watch him and Bradley talk. I would just watch them talk. I'd be done, or I'd be done for the day, and sometimes I would just stay later, just so I could watch Bradley try and frame. Bradley be in the corner somewhere, framing up the scene, and I was like, wow, if I could only. I wish I could just go into his mind. But this was as close as I could get. So I would just stay there and watch Bradley work, and then I'd see him and Matthew talk about it. And then Matthew always had this little. I don't know if do you remember Sam? Matthew always had this little thing that he had in his pocket, and I didn't even understand what he was looking at. But I was like, I guess. I mean, I don't know. He'd just be framing. He'd be looking. He'd be like, say something to Bradley. I'm like, I didn't understand anything they were saying, but I was just like, these guys. Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, they were figuring it out, man, and I was just like, man, these guys are the best in the game, and if you want to be the best in the game, you just learn, man. Just sit here and learn, kid.
For those that don't know, Matthew Libatique, the guy who shot the movie, also shoots movies for Spike Lee. He shot Chirac. He also is Darren Aronofsky's primary cinematographer. So when you see like Black Swan, or even I think he shot Mother as well, when you see those movies, that's the work of Libatique. He can do anything. He's a real genius.
He's in the movie too.
Wait, what? Where?
Oh yeah, he's got a little.
Does he really?
Part. Yeah. I can't remember.
Everybody in the crew.
Everyone in the crew. Like, if you really pay attention, if you see the movie again and again, you'll start.
Stage.
He threw everybody into the movie. That was.
They just happened to get in a shot, half of them. But they look like they were of the piece.
Let's get some questions from the audience. Who's got a question? Right here.
Hey, good afternoon. Long time no see. So my question is, you two have done a lot of great acting roles. What's your favorite acting role you've had so far, and why?
Holy cow.
A Star is Born. Just.
Yeah, that's the obvious answer. I don't know. I've there's a number of parts that I feel very lucky that crossed my career over the years, and I've always found that the most difficult question to ask, because there's things about each of them that stand out for me. I think the ones that I've had written specifically for me were, on some level, the most fun. I've also loved doing period pieces, because I think that's the biggest stretch for an actor, because it's going back into a time that I didn't experience. But I think the character in The Big Lebowski, which was written for me, was a lot of fun, and a movie called Hero that came out a couple of years ago. But clearly, I've never had a more enriching kind of an experience, or a more, I think emotional maybe is the word for it, kind of experience that I've had in this film. And it's transcended the entire journey. It's still right there. I'm right on the edge of it still. If I talk too much about certain aspects of it, it'll bring me to tears, because it's what it is. Maybe that's what happens when you get to be 74. I don't know. You get a little more sensitive or something. But Star is Born's hard to beat for me, Bobby, because of that relationship with Jack and the dad that we never see, but we talk about. I obviously had a real issue with Dad. And the mom died early, so it's the boys, it's the brothers.
It's a movie that has really lived-in characters that have a past and a history, and not many movies know how to work those backstories in without it feeling expository and not actually amounting to much in the present story that's being told. But he does it very well here. Yeah, Anthony.
I mean, for me. Well, Donovan, I grew up with Donovan. We used to make short movies together.
Really?
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite role. Oh. I was just about to say my favorite role I ever played was Seymour in Little Shop of Horrors, the first Puerto Rican Seymour you ever seen. But it was because that's where it all started, you know. That was the first time I took a script, and I saw, you know, Seymour. I just saw that it was the first time I had realized this isn't too much for you. You know, you can do this seriously if you give this your all and you dedicate time and effort and love and care into this. You can do this. You can be the guy. You can be the one in the show. You know, you can be the one at the center of it, with the tribe around you, and make something special. It was only a high school production, but that was my favorite role, man. It was the first time I actually believed in myself as an actor, and I said, oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe.
You're doing it.
Yeah,
You're
right?
good.
Hopefully, yeah.
Next question.
Hi, question for Anthony. Hi. You mentioned earlier that you spent a lot of time shadowing Bradley Cooper during the takes and stuff like that. I know that you mentioned to Spike Lee that you thought Bradley was going to be one of the best directors of all time. So the question I have, is that part of the calibration process that you mentioned, or do you have aspirations of being a filmmaker, director yourself? I know you're still at the infancy of your career, but that's the question.
No, yeah, I definitely want to direct. I love acting, but, you know, let's do it all. You know, I wanna make movies, man. I wanna be the guy in the editing room till 3 a.m. Like, this scene isn't working. You know, and you know, I did the same with Spike. You know, I asked Spike, and I'm gonna steal a lot of what Spike does. You know, for my movies. Like I asked him before we started shooting. I said, we shot season 2. We just finished like 2 months ago, and I said, yo, like, before the season started, Spike, can I follow you? And he was like, you got the MJ okay. He was like, yeah, no. He's like, you all good, baby. You can come whenever. And
God, I love Spike Lee.
Yo, he's my man. Spike is, you know, Spike. The way he even found me, well, you know, I was doing Hamilton, and we were off Broadway at the Public Theater, and Spike is sitting in the second row. And we finished the show, and Spike is. The whole crowd gets up, and Spike is clapping aggressively and pointing, and my boy Chris Jackson is standing next to me for the bows, and he's like, he ain't pointing at me. And I was like, yo, Spike Lee pointing at me right now.
I interviewed Spike Lee. I think it was for the first season of She's Gotta Have It, or maybe it was for something else, and I had seen an episode of She's Gotta Have It, and I mentioned your performance and how much I loved it, and all he had to say was, Anthony Ramos, he's going places. You're going to see that kid is going places. So he loves you.
I love him, man.
Oh, one more.
Hi. I was wondering if there was any particular scene that was either really memorable to shoot or challenging.
I think the last scene with Stephanie is my favorite scene. I mean, I had some really great moments with Bradley throughout, but I had one particularly incredible moment at the end with Stephanie after Bradley's character's gone and she's pretty much a raw edge, and I've become philosophical in some way, you know, although I'm pretty raw too. I think that piece is one of my favorite pieces. And I think primarily the reason for it is that I'd already wrapped on the film. I'd already finished the film, and Bradley brought me back. He rewrote that scene with me. I think initially it was to be Dice, the dad, playing that scene with her. And then he talked about it being Anthony, and Anthony's there just prior to the beginning of that scene with her. And I think for all those reasons that scene really became my favorite.
That's what I'm talking about when it comes to this movie, is that you can see this movie as a movie that
Went along the way, it developed along the way.
Exactly. You know, it's rare that you get to see a movie that someone is figuring out what's working and what's not working while making it, and knowing how to make those changes so that the final product, everything is right. Because usually a filmmaker just has to get through the day, and they're just trying to get to the next day, and they'll never feel confident enough to be like, you know what? No, we have to go back and do that again to figure it out. Because everything, every note, every tone is hits the right mark in this movie, and it's too hard to do. Yeah. Anthony, what was your toughest scene?
I think the toughest scene for me was it was a part that we had filmed something that didn't make it into the movie, but but Bradley condensed it. It was a very short version when I'm kind of at the end of the film, and it's right before Sam's scene, and it was that one, and it was a whole, we had talked, it was tough coming in because we were trying to figure out what we wanted it to be, and I think what it turned out to be was the best. It turned out to be the best version of what it could be, and there was also a scene in the bathtub that we had where we're looking at the video with Shangela and all the girls, and it was those were tough because we just you're trying to. You just feel them a lot, and Stephanie, she's so open and she gives you so much. Sometimes you're like, it's so much and it's so good that you're like, oh my gosh, like all these things are coming out of me that I didn't even know were inside of me, and these emotions are coming out of me that I didn't even know I had. And I think more than anything, the scenes were tough, not because of what was on the page, but just because they were just real moments where you're like, I think I'm about to cry right now. Or I think what she's saying to me right now, or the look on her face is making, like, I genuinely feel her, and I'm hurting with her right now. And I think more than anything, it was just emotionally tough, and in the best way.
That's it. It's not when he answered a question like, what's my most difficult scene in the movie, it's not necessarily that it was the hardest thing to do. It's just on an emotional level, like Anthony just said. It's just, and it's also the greatest. It's like the best. It's just like your favorite scene, if that makes any sense. The most difficult scene might even be the favorite scene every time.
It comes with a great reward.
It's a great reward.
Well, guys, I think you just described the experience of the viewer as well. Am I going to cry right now? I think I'm going to cry. She's so incredible with this. Congratulations on the film. It's really great. Wonderful to have your incredible work by the both of you. Everybody, please give a big round of applause. Anthony Ramos and Sam Elliott. And see A Star is Born this weekend.